Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea and I have another word to release to you guys today. This prophetic word is coming from a dream that he gave me. Okay, so let's just go ahead and hop into it. In this dream, I saw two ladies trying to get me out of a house. They were fed up and kept trying to get in and talk to me through the door. They had the key in the door turned for it to be opened, but I held onto the lock on my end so they couldn't get in. There were two locks on my door, but one of them was not all the way securely locked, so the door had some wiggle room for them to get in, but I would have had to let go of my lock on my end. So as they kept trying to fiddle with the door, I was trying to get my lock in the position to be secure. I knew in this dream that I was staying in this place longer than I was supposed to. That's why they were trying to get in. I think the place was empty. There was a speaker next to me set up on the door, and they were saying, "When you're ready, you can talk to us." When they realized they weren't getting in, they left. When they left, I saw myself leaving and noticed 2 or 3 people behind me that were inquiring with them for their help. I went to a bathroom that was next to the place I was staying to hide from them because I didn't want to run into them in the hallway as I was leaving. Okay, so that was the end of the dream. Okay, so in the beginning of this dream, there were two ladies that were standing outside the door, okay, and they were trying to put a key into the door so that they can get in, and I was holding the lock from my end, okay, because I didn't want them to get in. And God is saying that this lock represents the promise that he has made you, okay, and he's saying he needs you to hold on to this promise. He needs you to hold on to this thing that he has said is yours, okay. They had a little bit of wiggle room to try and put their lock in on their side and try to get in because only one of the locks was secure, okay. He's saying both locks needs to be secure, okay. So the reason that they had wiggle room is because there's something that the enemy is trying to use to get you to forfeit your blessing, to get you to forfeit the promise that God has made you. And God is saying he needs you to secure the lock, okay. Secure the promise in your mind and in your heart. Know what God has promised you. Do not let the enemy come in and steal the things that God said is yours, okay. Also in this dream, I knew in this dream I was staying in a place longer than I was supposed to. That's why they were trying to get in. I think the place was empty. Okay, so God was showing me that for some of you, he had you in a place to where you were in this position longer than you were supposed to. You were staying in this place longer than you were supposed to, okay? So whether it was a house or apartment or wherever it was, the landlord or the apartment managers, they were all trying to get you out of this place. And God was saying that it was his timing that he was going to release you from this place. It was not up to the landlord. It was not up to the apartment managers. He kept you there because he was trying to protect you. He didn't allow you to do certain things. He didn't allow you to go certain places. You probably felt alone a lot of the time, but God was protecting you, okay, from the enemy and the outside world. So he kept you in this place longer than they expected you to be, but God was, even in that, was allowing them to see that he is in control and that they do not have control over what he does with you. Okay, so there was a speaker next to me set up next to the door, and they were saying, "When you're ready, you can talk to us." When they realized they weren't getting in, they left, okay. So this represents Satan trying to speak to you in your mind, speak negative things to you, trying to use even other people to try and convince you to leave, to convince you to let go of the promises, to go back to things that God has delivered you from, go back to practicing some sins and dabbling in some things that God has set you free from, and listening to the voice of the enemy is what he's wanting you to do. But when he realized that you weren't answering those negative thoughts, you were not you were taking those thoughts captive, okay, and casting them out, and you were not entertaining the devil. You were not entertaining the enemy and the things that he was trying to plant inside of you, or even use the people around you to try and get you to essentially in this dream open that door and let him in, okay. You were not allowing him to creep in into your life to where he could take the things that God said is yours, okay. And so when they left, I saw myself leaving, and I saw 2 or 3 people inquiring with them for their help, okay. So again, back to the situation, some of you were in a place to where other people wanted to stay and be where you were, and God was not allowing them to take your position. He was not allowing them to take your place, because it was not time for you to leave, okay? No matter how bad the people wanted you out, no matter how bad they wanted you to go. And this is not just physical, okay? Because some of it is physical. You were in a place, you were in a house, you were in a apartment or whatever, and they were trying to get you to go, and other people were inquiring about the space that you were living in. But this is also spiritual, and God is saying that there are people inquiring about your position that you have in the kingdom, okay? They want your position, but God is saying it belongs to you. It is yours, okay? And the enemy is trying to take you up out of there. He's trying to remove you out of your position. And God is saying, no, they cannot have your position because this belongs to you, okay? And so then I went to a bathroom that was next to the place I was staying to hide from them, because I didn't want to run into them in the hallway as I was leaving, okay? So some of you now are actually in a waiting period, okay? You've moved from that place that God had you in, and you're now in a waiting position, okay? Waiting for God to give you those direct instructions for you to leave this waiting area where you are currently at. All right, and for him to give you the go signal, and for him to tell you exactly, you know, how he wants you to leave and how he wants you to move. And in this waiting period, I was in the bathroom, and I didn't want them to see me. I was hiding, all right, because God had to clear them out of the hallway. He had to remove your enemies. He is making sure that when you come out of this waiting area, when you come out of this waiting period from where you're currently staying, he wants it to be clear. He wants the runway, the hallway, he wants it to be clear, okay? So it was like a white space, this hallway. It was just like all white, okay? So it could be it was like a hallway, but it's also like a runway. So wherever he's taking you, he is wanting to make sure that your enemies are out of the way, that they, when you leave this waiting area, that they are not able to come and attack you on your way to the promised land, okay? He's want to make sure that the runway is clear. He wants to make sure that the hallway is clear for you to just go and walk it, okay? Go for you to walk out into where he is taking you, okay? So he is handling the enemy. He is handling him to make sure that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, that nothing will be in the way of you getting from this waiting period to your final destination, the promised land, all right? This will be a smooth transition, okay? In this house, in this apartment, wherever you were currently at before your waiting period, God is saying that that was training grounds for you, okay? So even though the enemy kept trying to come in, and even though you weren't allowed to move about how you wanted to freely, and God had you in this position to where it was just really you and him alone most of the time, and he was just building you up and strengthening you, okay? He was training you to get ready for this new level of responsibility, this new level of accountability and leadership that he is bringing you into, okay? So he had to build you up, all right? He had to build you up spiritually. He had to build you up in character. He had to just build you to a position to where he knows when you get to the promised land, you can handle what is to come, because you had a lot of training, okay? And he saw fit that you stayed in that position where you were at, whether it was a house, apartment, wherever you were staying. He made sure that you stayed there as long as he needed you to, okay? Nobody could have moved you out of the position any sooner. He wanted to make sure that your training was complete. He wanted to make sure that you were fit for what he has you going into next, okay? All the attacks from the enemy that was going on while you were in training, all the fiddling with the key and trying to get into the door and trying to disturb you in this position that God had you in, it didn't work, okay? All these things were actually, all these attacks from the enemy of him trying to come in and him trying to steal the promises, all these things were just building up your character, building up your strength, all right? It was building you up for greatness, okay? God is taking you higher to a new level, all right? So he may have allowed them to test you. He may have allowed certain people to do you dirty or do you wrong in your past training where you were at. So there may have been attacks on you from the enemy. They may have tried to come in. They may have tried to threaten you. They may have tried to put fear in you, but God was allowing it to build you up so that you can know that the only person you need to fear is him, so that you can know that he has your back. He was building you up spiritually, okay, to lean on him and also to walk in that power and authority that he has given you, and not allow the enemy to come in and steal what is yours, and also not allow him to plant things into your mind and into your spirit about what other people may think about you, so that you could be firm and that you could be sure in Christ and not be moved. You can't be shaken. You can't be moved by the enemy when he's trying to come in, when he's got the key in the door, trying to use certain things to attack you. It wasn't working. All right, and that's what a part of your training was, because he needs you to be assured of yourself. He needed you to essentially fight against the enemy and be victorious, okay? Because the attacks are not going to stop. Even when you get to the promised land, there will be other things that the enemy will come and attack you with, okay? New levels, new devils. And God had to get you in a position to where you were not backing down from him, that you were not being fearful of him, that you were not being scared and running away from the enemy, but yet you were using the power and authority that he has given you, and you were being victorious over him, okay? So you had this training to build you up in the spirit, okay? Because where he's taking you, you're going to need that boldness. You're going to need that assuredness that you have in Christ to continue to trample over the enemy and stop and crush the serpent's head, okay? So yes, your training is over. God had you there for a long period of time. You did what was needed to be done. You learned what was needed to be learned, and God has got you in a waiting area right now, and he is getting ready to allow you to walk that runway, walk that hallway to the promised land, and you will get there without any interruptions, because again, God is taking care of your enemies and moving them out the way so that this will be a smooth transition for you, okay? So yes, that's all that God wanted to release in this word. Your training is over. If you know this word is for you, take it back to God and allow him to give you further revelation and confirmation. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.